Hello. You are watching this video because you want to know more about what case competitions are. Over the next several video segments, you will learn more about all the different aspects that go into case competitions. First, let's go over a few things just so that way you understand generally what a case competition is. Case competitions can range from a few hours to several weeks. During this time period, you're going to work through a case given to you by a company to help them solve a real-world problem. This could be seen as kind of a mock interview for you. What you need to do is decide where the company is going to go, how they're going to react to the different situations that are listed in front of you, do market research to back that up, and then provide financial data in order to support yourself. You're probably going to present for about 10 to 15 minutes, maybe even 20, and then you're going to do a 5 to 10 minute Q&A. During this time period, you're going to ask questions from softballs of random things to extremely hard questions that you're going to have to back up with financial data. You're going to have a slide deck that's going to be several slides that you're going to talk through, but you're also going to have an appendix. And in this appendix is going to be the different answers to all those questions. You want to present a finished product to them. Over these next couple videos, we hope you enjoy learning about what case competitions are, and we look forward to your feedback. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Christine Rasquina, and I'm here to talk to you about how to make a good first impression as you're presenting your case competition. So the first thing you want to do is the moment you walk in the room, you want to be engaging and smile. And then you also want to shake the hands of the judges and make sure to introduce yourself. Hi, my name is Christine.
Hi, I'm Jay.
Nice to meet you. The next thing you want to do is make sure that your group is aligned and so that they're ready to present in the order in which they're speaking. And so when you stand in front of the judging panel, make sure you're standing within that order. Now, throughout the presentation, you are still making an impression, and that's incredibly important, whether or not you're speaking. And so some of the common things that we see are people crossing their hands. This is not okay, as it looks aggressive and uncomfortable for the judges to watch. What you want to do instead is keep your hands down by your side and smile at the person presenting. That way you look engaged in exactly what they're saying, and it sounds like you're on the same page as your teammates, which showcases the support that you need. Now, when you're presenting, you want to have natural emotion, and that means smiling the appropriate amount. You definitely do not want to be smiling too much. This looks like you're incredibly uncomfortable, and it would make the judges feel incredibly uncomfortable as well. One of the things that you can do while you present is just to be engaged the entire time, looking at all of the judges, making sure you look at each and every individual in the room, whether or not they're a judge or a timer or simply just someone watching in the audience. You want to seem engaged and know exactly what they're feeling just by looking into their eyes. So when you're creating your story, you normally think of a book as being, you talk about the beginning, your introduction, the middle, and then you have your resolution. With a case competition, it's a little bit backwards. And so what you need to start off with is your introduction, and that encompasses what you saw as the problem, and then what different issues can encompass that, such as a company overview and the values of the company. And then the second thing you're going to talk about is your recommendation. This allows the judges to know exactly what you're going to talk about over the next 15 to 20 minutes. And that's incredibly important so that they don't get lost in your story. After you talk about your recommendation, you're going to go into your analysis. And this analysis will focus on how exactly you reach your recommendation and can be divided up in multiple ways. Some people divide it up by the factors that they considered and build back up to their recommendation, whereas other people really break down their recommendation and show why it will be successful because of certain factors. However, that format is completely up to you. Once you've gone through your analysis, you want to talk about exactly how you plan on implementing this recommendation that you've just outlined for your judges. And by outlining it, go ahead and put together an implementation timeline and utilize whatever names that you can find in the case as well as on your company's website. Finally, you want to finish up with a strong financial analysis that showcases why exactly the company would want to take on your recommendation financially. This means showcasing the ROI, the growth over the next couple years, the revenue, and any types of payback period that could be helpful. And then finally, go ahead and summarize your entire presentation so that the judges have a clear idea of where your story began and where your story finishes. Thank you.
Hello, in this presentation I'm going to be discussing the SWOT, Pestel, and Porter's 5 Forces models. These models are very important for analysis during a case competition. What you'll find is during lower level case competitions, the ones more focused towards freshmen or sophomores, that this will provide a big competitive advantage towards the other competitors and will immediately put you ahead of them. On the other hand, in higher level case competitions, not having these models puts you at a huge disadvantage, so they're very important to understand. The first is the SWOT analysis. So SWOT stands for strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats. And the purpose of this is to help you focus on your strengths, the company, minimize the threats, and take the greatest possible advantage of opportunities available to you. So these are split, as I mentioned, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats into internal, external, positive, and negative. So strength obviously is positive and internal. So some examples of strengths for Gap would be franchising opportunities, new store openings, and a strong financial position in the market already. On the other hand, some weaknesses would be that they depend on outside vendors for their goods, they have weak global presence and stuff like that. Opportunities, anything where you can see, as the name implies, an opportunity to grow. For example, the market for plus size women apparel might be increasing, so that would be an opportunity for the company to move towards. Finally, there's threats, so this could be anything such as strong competition from rival companies or slow economic recovery from some recession or something of the sort. The second model is the Pestel model, and the purpose of this is to evaluate the impact of external factors on a firm. Some people, they want to do a shorter version of this, and you can do PEST instead, which only focuses on political, economic, social, cultural, and technological factors. But for the full model, we also add ecological and legal. So take Starbucks, for example. Some political factors that might come into play are activism and increasing public awareness in developing countries where raw materials are farmed. Obviously, this is very significant and affect their businesses. And because of this, it's important to clearly outline in political, as it will help shape your future implementation strategy that you go on to discuss later in the case competition. Another example would be legal, where possible introduction of caffeine production and consumption-related policies into the government, stuff like that. So any possible legal factors would go under there. Finally, another example, technological. As we all know, Starbucks has Wi-Fi in all of their stores, and this is very important and really influences their business. So it's important to highlight this under the technological aspect of the Pestel model. Finally, Porter's 5 Forces, and the purpose of this is to describe the profit potential of an industry and shape a firm's strategy. So for this example, we were looking at McDonald's, and the 5 forces that we're looking into are bargaining power of suppliers, the threat of substitute products, bargaining power of customers, competitive rivalry, and threat of new entrants. And basically, you rank them all on how strong they are, so low, moderate, high, and the stronger the 5 forces, the lower the industry's profit potential, and this makes the industry less competitive and less attractive for competitors. My bad. Vice versa also. So if the 5 forces are weak, then the industry profit potential is high, which makes the industry more attractive for competitors. So if you look at McDonald's, for example, the bargaining power of suppliers, the strength is low for this because the suppliers, for example, let's take the suppliers of cheese. There's so many suppliers of cheese, and since McDonald's is such a huge buyer of that, they'll all be fighting for each other to get part of McDonald's share for cheese. So for McDonald's, it's really easy for them because if they no longer like their current supplier of cheese, they can easily switch to another company with little to no cost to them. On the other hand, if you're the cheese company trying to supply for McDonald's, you don't really have much power in negotiations. If you want to raise your prices, McDonald's could just very easily say, nope, we're just going to move on to this other cheese company and just move on very easily from that. So because of that, the strength of bargaining power of suppliers is very low. On the other hand, we can look at competitive rivalry, which we put as low because there's only 3 large competitors. There's Burger King and stuff like that, and there's low exit barriers. So additionally, there's intense marketing and promotional costs. So because of this, we said that the competitive rivalry is low, and on the other hand, threat of new entrants is also low because the 3 competitors that are already in there are very powerful, and because of this, it's hard for a new startup fast food chain to hit the market.
Hello everyone, my name is Riley Owens. You can call me Professor Riley, and today we'll be going over a very brief introductory finance overview for how to look at financials in a case competition. So the first thing we're going to look at is a balance sheet. Now, a balance sheet basically provides a point-in-time overview of how a company looks. It will show their assets, liabilities, and equity. Assets are everything that adds value to a company. So they're split up in 2 different categories: current assets, so things like inventory, accounts receivable, all the things that can make a company money. Then there's things like long-term assets. So those are going to be like plants and equipment, anything that they're going to have for 10 plus years but do add value to the company. Now, liabilities are things that the company owes. So they're going to be accounts payable, notes payable, and again, those have a current and a long-term aspect as well. Anything is classified as current if it's payable within 1 year's time. Now, equity is all of the things that are how much the company is worth. So it's going to be retained earnings, stockholders' equity, anything that shows how much a company is worth. So the basic accounting equation is assets equals liabilities plus equity. So that's all reflected in the balance sheet. Now, the next thing we're going to look at is an income statement. An income statement is a report of how profitable a company is for a certain time period. So most of them will say for this month ended, so for this example, it says 5 months ended May 31st. So that is measuring the profitability from January to the end of May. So it gives you an overview for how many sales a company has, what the costs of a company are, and it breaks down how much each cost means in terms of relation to how much sales you have. Now, next we're going to move on to a statement of cash flows. Statement of cash flows basically shows how much cash enters or leaves the business throughout a certain point in time. So typically this will be a point in time as well. So similar to the balance sheet, so you'll do one for the year ended. So whenever your year end is, typically December 31st. Statement of cash flows is broken down to 3 different segments: operating, investing, and financing. Operating is going to be anything that is part of the daily business routine. So maintenance is going to be an operating activity. Investing is going to be things like purchasing a property. Anything that is going to be long-term and requires a large investment on your part that you'll then in the future gain from. And then financing is going to be things like borrowing long-term debt, issuing stock, anything like that that is going to be more equity focused for a company. Now, with all this information, you can do a lot of different analysis. The big thing, though, is net present value. So net present value is kind of the ultimate one formula that you need to have in any financial overview for a case. There's a lot of other ones that you can have. Like I said, this is very introductory Finance 101. So net present value shows all of the future cash flows for an operation and discounts them to their current value at this point in time. So if you want to accept any project, in theory, its net present value has to be greater than 0, which means over the course of that project, you are going to make a profit. So you can see the equation here. It's the initial investment, so whatever it's going to cost to get this up and running. So typically, that's going to be a negative number, plus however much money you're making in year 1 over 1 plus whatever your discount rate is. So you can look at industry averages. So that's going to be something that you just Google, look at the industry average and say, hey, they use a 10% discount rate. We're going to use a 10% discount rate, and then raise to the however year it is. So since this is cash flow year 1, raise to the first power, and so on for however many years you're doing that. So that's going to be your biggest formula to use, using all of that financial information presented in the statements. And besides that, there's a lot of other things you can do, but this is the big one. Thank you all for tuning in to Finance 101, very introductory Finance 101. Hope you all have a great day and good luck on those case competitions. Woo, boiler up.
Over the past several videos, you've learned the basics of case competitions. Everything from entering the room to how to paint the story, what goes into a case, and how to deal with all the questions that you're going to receive. We hope you've enjoyed these segments made by the BC, and we hope to see you at a case competition. Thanks. Bye.
Hello, everyone. This is Damn it.